I used to work in digital forensics, mostly quiet, repetitive work. Recovering deleted files, tracing IPs, organizing evidence for local police departments that didn't have the tech to do it themselves. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept the lights on. About 2 years ago, we got this external hard drive from a small-town precinct. It came from a raid on some guy's apartment. They said he'd been selling illegal stuff on the dark web. For us, it was just another cleanup job. The drive itself looked cheap, scratched up, smudged with fingerprints, the kind you'd find in an old drawer. When I plugged it in, I noticed it didn't behave like a normal drive. It had only one partition, fully encrypted, and inside was a folder named Archive 001. No other data, no metadata, just that. I've cracked all kinds of encrypted drives, but this one was different. It didn't need a password. It was time-locked. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the folder unlocked itself. That alone sent a small chill through me. Inside were hundreds of video files, all with meaningless names, just timestamps. The earliest one was from 2013, the latest from the week before the suspect's arrest. I thought it was just CCTV footage, static cameras, no audio, all filmed in identical rooms. Concrete walls, low ceilings, dim lights, a metal chair in the center. The first few clips were empty. Then I started noticing figures, people tied to chairs, motionless. Someone else was always there too, just out of frame. No talking. No visible movement, only the soft, constant hum of what sounded like a generator somewhere nearby. I reported it immediately, as the protocol stated, but the detective told me to keep indexing until they obtained a warrant for the rest of the data. So I kept watching. I shouldn't have. Each new video got worse. Different victims, same rooms, same quiet dread. Whoever was behind the camera never spoke, never breathed loudly, but sometimes, faintly, I could hear something human just off-screen. Slow, steady breathing. It was the calmness that disturbed me most. Not panic, not rage, just control, precision, like someone documenting their work. By the time I reached the most recent file, my stomach was in knots. I almost closed the window, but curiosity, or stupidity, made me click. The room looked the same, but this time the angle was off, tilted slightly toward the door. A man entered the frame, dressed in black, with gloved hands holding a small handheld camera. He placed it on the table, pointed it toward the wall, and then turned back toward the main camera. He removed his mask, and my blood went cold. It was the same man whose drive I was analyzing. The suspect. He stared straight into the lens, for a long time. Then he smiled. Just a small, knowing smile. And then he spoke, the only audio I'd heard in any of the footage. His voice was low, even almost casual. "This isn't yours to see." The screen glitched for a few seconds, flickered violently, then cut to black. I thought the file had ended, but suddenly another clip appeared on the player. I hadn't clicked anything. It was in a new folder that hadn't been there before. Archive 002. My hand froze over the mouse. The thumbnail wasn't a timestamp. It was a photo of me, sitting at my desk. Same shirt, same mug, same lighting. I turned slowly, scanning the office behind me. Empty. I could hear the buzz of the ceiling light and the faint ticking of a wall clock, but no movement, no sound. I yanked the drive out of the port and went straight to my supervisor. When we plugged it back in, the drive was blank. Empty. No partitions. No folders. Nothing. The tech team ran diagnostics. No signs of data corruption. No hidden sectors. Just wiped clean as if nothing had ever been there. The suspect hung himself in his cell 2 days later. The official report said the footage was unrecoverable. The case was closed. For a while, I convinced myself it was all some trick, a malware glitch, or a deepfake setup. But a few months later, I got an email. No sender, no subject line, just one attachment. I hovered over it for a long time before opening it. It was a single image, me again. Only this time, I was asleep in my apartment, shot from the foot of my bed. My window curtains were drawn, but in the dark reflection of the glass, I could make out a faint silhouette, someone standing there holding a camera. Now, every night I sleep with the lights on, and at exactly 2:17 a.m., my laptop screen flickers awake on its own, just for a second. And right before it goes black again, I see it appear, Archive 002. I was 10 years old when my grandma came to live with us. It was about 6 months after Granddad passed away, and I guess she just couldn't handle being alone in that big empty house anymore. My parents didn't really want to at first, especially my mom, but in the end they took her in. I didn't mind. In fact, I loved it. Grandma was funny, loud. She always smelled like lavender and old candy. She'd slip me sweets whenever Mom wasn't looking, and she'd always take my side when I got in trouble. But the thing I loved most were her stories. She told stories about everything: her childhood, the war, her friends, even ghosts and spirits. And those were my favorites, the scary ones. She had this way of telling them. She'd turn off the lights, sit on the edge of my bed, and talk in a whisper. The room would be dim, the curtains glowing faintly from the streetlight outside, and I'd sit there clutching my blanket while she stared at me with those sharp blue eyes of hers. And one night, she told me the story of Mr. Longfingers. It started when I asked her why she always took baths instead of showers. She'd stay in there forever, lighting candles, humming softly until the water turned cold. Mom would always complain, but Grandma would just laugh and say, "It's the only place I can relax, the only place I'm safe." That word safe stuck with me, so I asked her what she meant. She looked right at me and said, "People like me, people who are more sensitive to certain things, we can't take showers, not for long. It's risky." Then she leaned closer. Her breath smelled like peppermint. "It's only risky if you close your eyes," she whispered. "If you close them for more than 10 seconds. I laughed a little and asked why. She smiled, that strange kind of smile adults give when they're about to tell you something you won't forget. Do you ever play that game with your friends? The one where someone turns around and the others sneak up when they're not looking? I nodded. She said, "That's what it's like when you close your eyes in the shower. That's when he comes. Mr. Longfingers." Her face was pale in the moonlight. Her eyes didn't blink. "No one really knows what he is," she said softly. "Some say he's drawn to the heat, to the steam. Some say he's a spirit that slips through when the water fog gets thick enough. But no one who's ever seen him lived long enough to talk about it." My stomach dropped. I asked what would happen if someone did close their eyes for too long. She shifted closer on the bed. I could see the candlelight from the hall flickering across her wrinkles. "If it's under 10 seconds, you're fine," she said. "But go past that, and you might start to feel something in there with you, watching. And if you hit 15, she paused, her voice dropping to a whisper, "you'll hear it, the sound of fingers tapping on the glass." I swallowed hard. "What do I do if that happens?" She leaned forward, her voice barely audible now. "You don't open your eyes." That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined a pale, wet face pressed against my window, watching me. The next morning, I took a shower and I couldn't stop thinking about her story. At first, I laughed it off, but when I shut my eyes to rinse the shampoo out, something changed. 5 seconds. Fine. 10 seconds. Okay. However, around that point, I began to feel a sense of pressure, like the air in the bathroom shifted. My heartbeat started to echo in my ears. I told myself it was just my imagination, but it felt real. It felt wrong. So I rinsed as fast as I could and opened my eyes, water burning in them, just to check I was still alone. That became a pattern. Every shower after that, I'd count in my head. 5, 10, never longer. And every time, I felt that same invisible weight pressing on me, like someone standing just beyond the fogged glass. Eventually, my mom noticed something was wrong. She heard me crying in my sleep one night. I told her about Grandma's story, about Mr. Longfingers, and she got furious. Not at me, but at Grandma. I could hear them fighting through the walls that night. Mom's voice was sharp, angry. She told him there's a monster that'll get him in the shower. What the hell is wrong with her? The next night, Grandma came to my room again, but she didn't tell a story this time. She just sat on my bed, staring down at me. Her blue eyes looked softer, almost sorry. She said, "You know I'd never let anything bad happen to you, don't you?" I nodded. Then she smiled faintly. "Good, because I want to ensure you're safe. I'll scare him off." I didn't know what she meant, but I believed her. A week later, I was the one who found her. It was early morning. I woke up to the sound of running water, the shower. I thought Dad was up early, but something felt off. It was too quiet otherwise. When I got to the bathroom door, the sound was louder, steady, but there were no other noises. No humming, no movement. I called her name. No answer. I tried the door. It wasn't locked. When it swung open, steam poured out, thick and hot, and through the fog I saw her. Grandma was lying in the shower, motionless. Her eyes were wide open. Her skin is pale. One hand pressed against her chest, and the other was streaked down the fogged glass. There were finger trails all along the door, long, uneven lines. They said it was a heart attack, that it happened fast, that she didn't suffer. But even as a kid, I knew better. And now, years later, as a grown man, I still can't take showers. My wife and kids joke about it sometimes. They think I just can't get over seeing her like that. But that's not why. Because when I went back into that bathroom later that night, after the paramedics had gone, the steam was still clinging to the glass. And written there, carved through the condensation, were 4 words: "Eyes open, your turn." My dad wasn't the kind of man who made up stories. He'd seen things most people couldn't imagine, and even when he tried to talk about them, it always felt like the memories hurt more coming out. But a few days before he passed, he told me something he swore was true, something he said he'd never told anyone else. It happened in the late 1960s, back when he was serving in Vietnam. He was part of a small reconnaissance team, assigned to place seismic sensors along jungle trails, small devices that could detect movement and track enemy patrols. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was dangerous. There were only 7 of them, 2 Americans and 5 South Vietnamese strikers. Deep in the jungle where the air never stopped moving and everything smelled like wet earth, sweat, and gun oil. He said on the second day of the mission they split up. My dad went with 2 of the strikers to watch a nearby trail intersection. Their orders were simple: observe, report, and move on. No noise, no mistakes. The jungle that day was quiet. Too quiet, he said. Just the faint clicking of insects and a few distant bird calls that came and went like whispers. They'd been sitting in the brush for about 4 hours, sweating under the heavy canopy, uniforms damp, faces streaked with dirt and mosquito bites. The air was thick, heavy enough to taste. When it came time to move, he scanned the trail one last time, his eyes cutting through the gaps in the leaves. And that's when he saw him. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, because lying on the side of the trail, maybe 10 feet ahead, was a man. Not an NVA, not anyone from his team, but a soldier, a Union cavalry soldier. Blue wool uniform, polished brass buttons catching the little bit of sunlight that made it through the trees, leather belt, 2 pistols at his side, a Spencer rifle resting across his chest, and a short, curved war club by his leg. The man was black, light-skinned, calm-faced, and completely out of place. My dad blinked hard, thinking he was losing it, perhaps from heat stroke or exhaustion or anything. But the details were too clear. The fabric, the dust on his boots, the faint jingle of metal when the wind moved through the trees. Then the man turned his head, slow, deliberate, and looked straight at him. My dad said his eyes were steady, almost peaceful, and then he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, knowing one. Then he raised a finger to his lips, a silent shoo, and motioned for my dad to move back, away from the trail. My dad didn't understand, but something about the gesture felt urgent, like every instinct in his body screamed to listen. So he did. He quietly signaled to the 2 strikers behind him, pulling them deeper into the brush. The soldier mirrored him, slipping silently into the shadows on the other side of the trail. And then 10 seconds later, the jungle changed. It started with a faint vibration through the ground, like distant footsteps. Then came the sound, boots crunching leaves, soft murmurs, weapons shifting. My dad froze. Through the tangle of green, he saw them. A line of envious soldiers, one after another, weapons drawn, eyes scanning. There were so many of them, 70, maybe 80, AKs, light machine guns, RPGs. He said he could see the sweat shining on their necks, smell the oil from their rifles, hear the quiet rustle of their uniforms brushing against the ferns. They were less than 30 feet away. If he'd stepped out onto that trail seconds earlier, they would have been right on top of him. There wouldn't have been time to run. They'd have been dead before they could even raise their rifles. He stayed completely still, barely breathing, listening as the column passed. A full minute of boots, whispers, and the soft click of metal. When the last soldier disappeared down the path, the jungle went still again. No birds, no wind, just silence. My dad said his hands were shaking when he finally made the move. He looked across the trail to the spot where the soldier had been, but there was nothing. No tracks, no imprint. Just damp leaves and untouched earth. He gathered his men and pulled back fast, not saying a word until they rejoined the rest of the team. He reported the enemy movement, the direction, the number, but he left out the part about the man in the Union uniform. That night, he said he couldn't sleep. The image wouldn't leave his mind, that calm face, that quiet warning. It didn't feel like a hallucination, felt real. Like the man had been there for a reason. My dad never told anyone about it, not his commanding officer, not even his friends. He kept it buried for decades until years later when he finally told his grandmother. She was old then, fading fast, barely able to speak. But when he told her about the soldier, she smiled, a small, peaceful smile, and whispered, "You saw old Red Tom." He didn't know who that was, but she did. Red Tom, she said, was her grandfather, a half-black, half-Creek scout who fought for the Union Army during the Civil War, later serving in the cavalry out west. He was known for carrying 2 pistols, a Spencer rifle, and a Creek war club into battle. The same gear my dad had described, the same look, the same calm. My dad said that realization shook him more than anything that happened in the war. He didn't believe in ghosts, he still didn't, but he knew what he saw, and he knew that whoever that soldier was, he saved his life that day. After my dad passed, I started digging. I found a few old records, some faded photographs, and a headstone in Oklahoma that read, "Scout Red Tom, last seen 1874. I don't know what my dad really saw in that jungle, but sometimes late at night when the world feels still, I wonder if some people never really stop watching over us.